Today is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Survivor Edge of Extinction, Week 7, Episode 8.
This episode's titled, I'm the Puppet Master, courtesy of Ron. I was just so sure Ron was going.
Me too.
No previously on Survivor again this week.
Yep.
Got to make some time. They got more folks to show, thankfully.
I'm good with that, actually.
Yeah, that's fine. So the little bit that you lose is that they sort of give away their hand at how they're framing the story sometimes through previously on Survivor. Mm-hmm. So if you want hints, whatnot, of how they're trying to shape it and what direction they're sending it in, there can be clues in there because they'll sort of reframe something or retell it.
Yeah, that's minimal, though.
But given that you got to spend some time on Edge of Extinction and you've got all these folks who hopefully we're going to see more of finally.
Well, they did at least give us a little bit of them coming back from the tribal council.
Aurora was not happy about being excluded. Very unhappy. So Eric and Ron swoop in and try to reassure.
Oh, we only did that because we know you're really good friends with Joe, and we didn't want you to have to choose.
Look at that, Aurora. They protected you. They had your best interests at heart.
Mm-hmm. And if you buy that, I got some land for you.
That's so weak.
I know. I decided to abandon.
Before you got to the end of the sentence.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Oh.
I'm not even going to say the rest. It's too lame even for me.
Well, they have some hugs of reassurance for David and Rick, too. He's ecstatic, right? And he's thrilled at the fact that they had no remorse voting for their Lesu.
Well,
going against their Lesu folks and voting for them.
Yeah. He and Eric were, on a power high.
They're wanting to, what did he say? He wanted to build a cavern in Lesu. And it seemed to be working really, really well.
Well, shall we just put right out front, we kept our USBs, who are the same person?
Yeah. What did you think about their way to sell it and try to lock it down? 3 votes to the family visit, Eric tells us at this point.
I don't know. I guess it's something to join in on and all of that, but it didn't hold up very long, so obviously it didn't carry that much weight.
I liked it as an idea, as a marketing.
But they pushed it too hard.
Maybe that's what's going on. In any case, Wentworth and Wardog and Lauren are down on the beach commiserating, and they acknowledge right away that they played us.
Yeah. It's like, oh my.
But there's a plan. They want to at least try to tie it up and go to rocks, which would certainly work for them. It's just not necessarily to other people's advantage.
Yeah, and they've totally decided that Aurora will join them.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed anybody talking to Aurora exactly, but they've all got it planned.
That's the plan, yeah.
She'll vote with them, and
yep.
I'm like, okay, is that any better for her? Really? Because
she can stay a whole lot
on
longer.
The bottom.
She's stay a whole lot longer, even on the bottom, and hope for an opening.
Yeah, exactly.
To come along, yeah. This theme will recur through this episode.
We said so too, and we liked the idea, but I never did see anybody really talk to her much.
Actually, Ron did. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
I know, but he's not on Lesu.
Well, you said
I meant of those guys.
Anybody. Okay. Joe, we're out on Edge of Extinction. It's day 20. It's a 3-day cycle, 20, 21, and 22.
Sad.
Well, he's tearing up, but he tells us he's going to keep it together because he loves the game.
And it's where he's meant to be, I guess. 19 more days, but of the game, but they don't know for sure when they're going to get their chance again.
Yep.
Or how many times they might get it, really. They don't know anything, do they?
No, I don't think they have that kind
Other
of
than they'll get
certainty.
another opportunity.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I believe that's the sum of what they have. Okay, on to the reward challenge. There on day 20, they got to race through some obstacles, get some puzzle pieces, and put together a plank puzzle.
Oh, my goodness.
This one's a horizontal puzzle instead of vertical. So the planks are much larger and heavier.
My focus was on the Chinese takeout.
Yeah, as the reward. Yeah. Are we gonna need to call the restaurant after we get done with the podcast here?
Maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when we were watching too. Maybe a takeout order in our future.
Chinese takeout.
Yep. All right. So they've got to. I like the first part where they got to swim through and then go up there and untie the pieces and chuck them off the top and then dive back in the water and get them up to the puzzle-solving platform.
And at least we knew it was a random draw. They did share that, so we didn't have to wonder how the teams were formed.
Right.
When you saw the teams, did you think one had a better chance than the other?
I immediately think that any team with David on the puzzle-solving part is at a disadvantage. So that's about all the thought I gave it, I guess.
Well, I wasn't sure. I mean, you could tell even from the short commercial that the blue was ahead, but that didn't mean I didn't know anything about Victoria or Julia on the puzzle, so that didn't really help me any. And it's reward, so it didn't really affect immunity. So I didn't spend a lot of time thinking
So Eric
about
and War Dog, they got off to a good start for blue, and then Gavin and Wentworth, even Wentworth was doing okay. She was definitely trailing a little with her swimming skills, but it wasn't a huge detriment for them in the first stage. But Eric and War Dog get their puzzle pieces up to the platform first. Next up for blue, we got Aurora and Rick, and I didn't expect her to take the lead there, but she did, and she did fantastic. She was even the one throwing the puzzle
didn't think
pieces.
she would take. I thought she would take the lead.
Yeah.
She's very athletic and a really good swimmer.
Yeah, I just figured getting up there and throwing those big, heavy wooden puzzle pieces, but it didn't faze her a bit.
Oh, please. She could do that just as good.
I see. Okay. And then you had Lauren and Julie was all Julie struggle. She couldn't get up the ladder. What's going on with that?
She's tiny.
That's a different side of her. I don't know what that has to do with climbing a ladder out of the water. I mean, she's the one who just won the previous individual immunity challenge. But she couldn't, for some reason, maybe her bathing suit or whatever she was wearing malfunctioned and she was reticent. Yeah, well, Probst was giving her some grief for it.
Well, that's his job.
So Aurora and Rick get their puzzle pieces there, and that gives Julia and Victoria a big lead.
Well, I actually thought David and Ron might have an opportunity to catch up to them, but then the girls' puzzle started to they're getting it together now. Because for a while I thought, they don't have it. Oh, they have it now.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, David and them have the slats in, but they don't have it. And they just put them in so they could look at them. And now they have to rearrange them. So the girls pulled ahead and took it. Good on them.
Yeah, they were having a little trouble. Victoria wasn't quite tall enough to put the top puzzle piece in there. But they worked that out. Julia got over there and helped her and took care of it. And David managed to get one piece wedged.
You know why I think they keep putting David on the puzzle? David wouldn't do good in the water and doing that particular part of the challenge. He's not much better swimmer than some of the others. Him and Kelley, remember how excited he was that he was ahead of somebody?
Yeah. Well,
swimming. And so why would you want David to get you behind before you get to the puzzle? So I guess that's why they thought he would do better on the puzzle.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe he just volunteered.
You could just do like Rick and follow Aurora. In that kind of a situation, you don't have to do anything.
Yes, but they still have to wait for them to catch up.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Blue Tribe won.
Yay.
And they're going to feast. Ron tells us he doesn't care because losing is awesome. He's all about keeping Wentworth and Lauren lonely.
And he just wants to break them down.
Yeah, break them down. Keep them
that hadn't worked so far.
Lost and lonely. No, It did. I mean, certainly they got them to be divided in the previous episode.
Well, they might crack, but they hadn't broken yet.
I don't think it was looking particularly good at them at this point. Good for them at this point, in any case. So, okay, back at camp there on day 20, time for a feast.
But Lauren did cry a little bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess but I think it was more the food. It wasn't necessarily.
That's what she said. She's so hungry again. Yep.
Yeah.
Back to the rice. I guess she can't eat.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't know why I forgot that, but. Okay.
All right, that blue team, they did a number on their reward feast. They just decimated it, didn't they?
Oh, yum.
Yeah.
That rice. Did you see the amount of rice Ron was stuffing while they were out there eating?
While they're having their feast,
like,
yeah.
Okay, we're cooking a pot while they're gone. And
yeah.
though he spit all over it, looked like, when they were talking about the chicken coming in and offering itself up.
Yeah, when I think David made him laugh, and it was a spit take with rice instead of water.
Oof, okay. But
Wentworth and David make good. They apologize to each other as Wentworth is being terrorized by a bee or something there.
Yep, they need to
That
bury the
follows her
hatchet,
around.
work together,
Yeah.
and or they were going to get picked off one by one.
And they that's when Wentworth shares the plan. Got to get some votes together so that we can pop them. Maybe convince them. She's counting on the 8 splitting their votes, so that will give them the opportunity to have an advantage of 5-4.
And they're still counting on Aurora,
Yep.
even though we've not seen one of them speak to her yet.
Yeah.
But they do show us. This is where they show us Aurora talking to Ron and crying, and because nobody told her anything, and she doesn't feel like the other people are with her. But
He
she
must be doing a
still
great
think-
job.
Exactly. That's what I was headed toward. Is that she seemed to not be as angry with him.
Right.
I
You
can't
see who
imagine
she's
she
confiding
wouldn't.
with. Yeah.
Well, at least he's making the effort, which is smart, to get in there and really work with her. But I guess I didn't really like when he went back and talked to Eric.
Right.
I didn't really like, per se, Eric's attitude.
Yeah, you said that he was being more arrogant.
I thought he was a little on the arrogant side.
Because when Ron reported that Aurora wasn't happy and she'd just been crying the whole time he was talking to her, he said she's got nowhere to go.
You know, they have zero power. She's got nowhere to go.
That could be a statement of fact, I guess, or it could be gloating, but he wasn't smiling and laughing. So
I
don't know why you perceived it as...
I just did.
I don't even know how you could perceive it as arrogant compared to Ron. Ron was exuding. He was like an arrogance overdrive.
Not in that moment he wasn't. I mean, he is normally.
Exactly.
But not in that moment he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was being serious. Man, she was really crying a lot.
Yeah.
And, I just felt like
broke up about it.
discounted it and went, yeah, but she got nowhere to go, so I'm not concerned about her. And I thought, what do you think now? Okay, so
David assures Wentworth that he can get Rick. That's not a problem.
Yeah, well.
It's in for a surprise.
Eat those words, didn't he?
Yeah.
But Kelley's really counting on, her whole plan really focuses on them doing a split.
So I think the thing that really undermined and upset David's chances for having a decent conversation with Rick was the conversation they show beforehand that Rick and War Dog are having.
Yeah, I think it was over after that.
Yeah, I think War Dog poisoned the well a bit. He just kind of salted the earth there because he couldn't follow what Rick was doing with his sarcasm.
Oh, yeah.
And then he
had no clue it was sarcasm. Yeah, he's with us. Not.
War Dog needs some sales lessons from Chris. I think Chris could probably shape him up so he'd be ready to sell those door-to-door magazines. And then he could have done a better job there with Rick and maybe not alienated him completely.
Well, and then who wants to be told you're reacting emotionally?
Yeah, that always works, doesn't it?
Yeah, that always makes you, really want to listen.
Yeah.
You better to walk away and just either let someone else.
Where was the apology?
Well, yeah.
First, what did he lead with? I mean, we didn't get the whole conversation, but you didn't get any sense given that Rick just dropped. And that's his sense of humor, and I appreciated it. I would have taken that opportunity to laugh along with what he was doing when he was being so sarcastic and say, yeah, you're absolutely 100% right. We totally screwed that up.
But that was War Dog's opportunity to say, I'm really sorry about that man. They really convinced us this was what was happening. We went along with it. We're stupid. What can I tell you? We bought it. I'm really sorry. I mean, what else can you say?
Well, War Dog had a different path.
Well, sure.
You're acting emotionally. That's something else you could choose to say. You can see how well it worked for him.
Well, and Rick doesn't know if it would get him further in the game. For him to go
It doesn't
with
seem like
him,
it would.
It doesn't, no.
At that point, he hadn't proposed anything that would make him think differently, right? So
Well, and it seemed
just that there's less numbers.
The clincher for Rick I thought he lost control a little bit, Rick.
Oh, you could tell he was angry.
And I know. But it's because War Dog, he kept being angry that he was barking at him. Don't come over here and bark at me.
I think he assessed it pretty accurately, even though he was angry.
Yeah.
He had the presence of mind of saying, I don't know that it gets me any further. I see how it gets you further.
Yeah.
And then he ended with good talk. So
yeah.
Rick went back to the sarcasm, which I definitely enjoyed that exchange.
If the talk then that came between Rick and David, if that was too close together. Because Rick still had an edge going. He was still upset.
If it's the same day, I would say yes, and that's how it's presented, that it happened on the same day. If there's no night in between there to let that soften up a little. I liked how David framed it out of the gate, though. There are these conversations that you have in the course of the game that you remember, and it comes down to the choice, and we're going to be together on this or not, and it's sort of going to frame the game.
I thought David held it together pretty good.
What I really liked and what made me think, wow, that's a new David, was he said, hey, I'm going to hang on to the half idol.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
That's what I
thought
wanted
that could
to
have
do.
really set Rick off.
I would think so, too. As a matter of fact, it works to David's disadvantage to a degree.
Yep.
Because Rick's concern that he's conveying is the lack of trust. And now here's David demonstrating exactly why he can't be trusted. I'm not going to give you that half idol back.
David's like, you're not acting rationally, and I don't want you to go off and do something irrational with the other half of this idol.
He said that in the confessional.
I know.
He didn't.
We know that's where his thoughts were.
Yeah.
I don't know if he expressed that to Rick.
And that's where, from like we saw last week on Next Time on Survivor, you see David saying in his confessional, unfortunately, I'm going to have to find another path to day 39 if I'm going to get there. Because this thing with Rick's not working out.
Well, I wonder what order this conversation actually took place. Because, Rick was like, you're delusional. You're not getting the numbers, bro. They're playing you.
Yep.
So
one of us is drunk. Not sure if it's you or me.
David said that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I do think Rick was emotional, but you can certainly understand even more if it was after his conversation with War Dog. But usually they get along. I would have liked to have heard more what Rick actually said to him when he said, well, if it's okay with you, I'd like to hang on to it for now, the half.
Yeah, I doubt that conversation went in a very positive direction after that. But you know why you couldn't hear more?
Why?
Because it's time to go back to Edge of Extinction.
Oh,
Day 21, they've received messages in the bottle. So no time for the social part of the game. Let's go see what's happening out on Extinction.
Message in a bottle, huh? Message in a bottle.
Out on Extinction Island. Or Extinction Island, as Jeremiah likes to call it.
Okay.
Reem informs us that she's bummed because she was really looking forward to taking a nap, and now here's this message in the bottle.
Well, did she? Oh, yeah, she did go look some.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, you can still take your nap. Nothing says you have to go look.
Yeah, you don't have to be like Aubry already with your shoes on when you see that something's
anticipating something
delivered, and Chris goes out and comes back with a bottle for everybody.
I didn't necessarily care whether Aubry came back or not, and I'm not sure I do now, but I like her drive a lot. I like her really wanting it that badly.
Mm-hmm.
And I like her assessment of the situation to take it literally and back off and look at it from different angles. If anybody else did that, we didn't see it, but
Yeah.
that was
Well,
pretty cool.
you didn't see Chris hip checking Aubry or anything. He was just taunting her as he caught up to her
yeah.
on the beach. So didn't require this. She didn't quite get the same kind of head start Keith did. Didn't require that this time. But yeah, they focused in, zeroed in on the steps, and everybody's searching the steps. But Aubry had that presence of mind. And if you look, that hole's not really that big. They do flash on it in one of the wider shots, so you can see where it was relative to the steps and perspective wise.
It was pretty small.
Because it looks kind of big when she goes up to it and reaches in, but that's deceptive.
Didn't from the far off view, but
All right, so she grabs that clue real quick and hides it, and she tells us she's pulling a Wentworth.
truthfully, I don't know that I would have stuck my hand in there. I'd have stuck a stick in there, but I'd have been afraid there was a snake up in there or something. It's like, no, I wouldn't stick my hand up in there.
All right, so the advantage that she's rewarded with is she's going to get to practice the first part of the challenge that they'll have to do.
Awesome.
It's one of those classic rope obstacle ones where they have to be clipped in and they have to move
it around.
Yeah, they have to move along the rope. The rope's fixed to posts and a series of posts and moves through different obstacles, but it's got some slack in it, and so she gets this opportunity. Now, it looked like it said, too, on the note, you couldn't read it for sure, but it looked like she would get to decide if she
It was up to her, yeah.
let the others practice, too. So I guess
No.
somehow that's your choice, no?
No, don't let them practice.
Yeah.
Why would she? They already have an advantage, Joe and Chris.
Well, I don't even know that Joe needs to. He knows how those work,
Yeah.
so I don't know that practicing is going to make a
No,
huge
Joe
difference
doesn't need
for
to.
him.
He probably would practice.
Even though it's a
but-
little harder for the bigger guys to move through those, depending on because of the amount of slack that you have to work with in the rope, because you have to loosen sections and slide through.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Yep, all of that.
So that's going to be good for her, and she gets a second advantage, just like the one that Rick found and sent to Aubry. She gets to send someone an extra vote. And I haven't gone back to freeze it and look at it, but when I was watching, it looked like it said it would, and I think this was the case for the previous one, that it would extend through a tie even. So a lot of power. And I just immediately thought, oh, well, she'll probably send it back to Rick. They must have had that conversation,
That was my first thought. I didn't think
even
about
though we never got any indication of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that he even told her he was the one. But surely you would think he did.
Okay, on to the immunity challenge. And this is a challenge where the only thing you're going to do is to wait to find out who passes out, given that they teased us with the fact that there's
That's true.
a medical check that happens in the course of the challenge.
Well, and it got right down to it, to only so many people to choose from. Everybody started dropping. They get up there, and I mean, they know that challenge can't go for too terribly long. How many people can really stand on their toes that long and balance? They couldn't even touch the frame.
War Dog, evidently, according to Probst, couldn't even do it for 15 seconds.
Yep.
Which, given what we know about his ability in challenges, we fully understand now.
And Eric and Gavin go out next, and I thought, they don't need immunity. Maybe they couldn't do it, but maybe they just didn't bother. They didn't think they needed any immunity.
Wentworth was struggling right out of the gate, too.
Yeah,
she didn't
she
make it
was.
much longer, so she went out right
Nope.
after Gavin.
And then Rick,
Yep.
Julia.
Rick, who informed us that he is the fifth of the fittest people out there after Probst was talking about how 4 fit people went out early. So
And now there are 5.
Rick got a good job in at Probst there, and he even got
Yeah.
Probst to repeat it. So Julia dropped out. Ron dropped out. Julie dropped out. David did a nice recover. And then they were down to David, Victoria, Aurora, and Lauren. That was 25 minutes in. So standing like that for 25 minutes,
yeah,
that's
I don't
pretty
know how
impressive.
They did that.
Yeah. Well, here's where I think some of the women have an advantage. It's not necessarily a fair one, but they've been conditioned to stand that way on heels. And so they might have, their muscles might be in a better shape to do that because of heels, if they wear the heels. What do you think about
They're
that?
still braced with the heel.
Sure.
It's just at a different angle.
Yeah.
So, no, it could even make it that their feet wouldn't last as long because they have been on the heels.
but they've got their calves in
Don't ask me. I haven't worn heels in years.
that same kind of position, right? So, in any case, David drops, and just the women are left. And Lauren informed the camera, at least, that she was feeling dizzy. She went from a little dizzy to very dizzy to I can't see anything.
I can't see.
And she fell out, and I was wrong. I thought, must have fallen backwards. Nope, she fell forwards.
Nope, we were wrong about,
When I saw how they were having to stand, my first thought was, someone's going to lock their knees and faint, because it kind of forces you to stand that way, and everyone was standing with straight legs. But then you you do see David switching legs and trying to adjust a little bit at one point before he dropped out. So, but yeah, she faints, and medical rushes in and checks on her.
Well, at least she gave them warning. I'm about to black out. But she didn't jump down.
Yeah.
She just blacked out.
She stayed in the competition until she could no longer do it. Her body decided, we're going to put you horizontal so we can get your blood pressure regulated again.
Well, I think he really had to, Jeff really had to go on the fly there, because he's like, okay, Dr. Joe, let me know if I need to stop the challenge. If this were serious enough, they wouldn't want to
How do you know?
dishonor her by continuing with the challenge.
That seemed a little odd. I'd almost think that in the event of a medical emergency that it would go on hold.
True, it would.
Because it's done that before.
It absolutely would. But what Jeff was doing was waiting to determine if it was an emergency.
Well, I can clearly see that. We saw the same episode.
Well, I know.
It just seems like from a policy perspective, it's not the wisest one.
You seem confused. So I thought I'd explain it to you.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the more interesting thing for me. So I'm glad Lauren's okay. We'll just cut to the chase on that. She fainted. She wakes up. It's okay.
She wakes up ticked off because she...
What do you think about Aurora's plea to Victoria, and she's trying to work Victoria to get Victoria to step down?
Well, my first thought was, oh, wow, they're not going to like her doing that. That's going to make the... And I thought, but what does she have to lose? She's already on the bottom.
They made that clear.
We know that, whether she does or not.
No,
she's already on the bottom.
They made it clear to her.
It's like, well, then prove it to me. Let me have immunity. Prove it to me. I thought it was kind of why not try it? It could hurt her. Could have hurt her in the long run, but I don't think it would, knowing what we know.
Seemed to really annoy Julie and David. Julie was the most vocal in her complaining, even out loud, back to Aurora, saying, hey, it's not the time. And David was echoing the same thing, although not as loud as Julie.
Well, but I think they meant more so because Aurora was down.
Lauren.
That's what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
That Lauren was down when Aurora was doing that.
Of course.
And
that's the only reason she said that.
Julie was tremendously upset about her feigning.
I think she was morally appalled.
Yeah. Pretty much, but...
Because she's kind of fishing to be morally something.
Hey, they just stabbed Aurora in the back, pretty much. So get over it, people. I don't trust you. That's basically what she told them, though, is, you need to do something to gain my trust back. I'm not trusting you.
What did you think about Victoria's decision?
I don't think it hurt her one way or the other.
I think Victoria made the right choice. Victoria's in to win for herself. It's got nothing to do with Aurora.
True.
Unfortunately,
she should be
Victoria wasn't able to do that, and Aurora ends up winning on her own anyway.
Yeah. And so I think, too, it was obvious to her that nobody wanted her to step down. In the
context, of a social game, I wonder how much that hurt Aurora.
It could definitely hurt her if she makes it to the finals.
But you got to make it there to have that problem.
Yeah, they might hold some resentment.
And as you mentioned, Lauren recovers, and her primary point that she's stressing is that she's disappointed. she just and a little embarrassed because she fainted.
I got to admire her. She just got up and kept going. There is something to that.
Yeah, she's definitely tough, even if she's not tough enough to finish that challenge.
True. But she doesn't talk about quitting the game or leaving or giving up or not fighting to stay in. any of those things.
Not when you have an idol. Nope. Okay, day 22 there. Aurora tells us that's the best feeling ever going into a tribal council, to have that immunity necklace. And she discovers in her bag after that, so it's like a 1-2 celebration.
Hello.
Extra vote. So Aubry sent it to Aurora. I was a little surprised, but okay. Certainly she could use it.
Well, it's a good thing she doesn't talk out loud to herself, or it would have been, hey, what's this?
Meanwhile, down on the beach, it's time for a Comma Strong celebration. Let's get together and yell it out loud and cheer. And Ron is selling that loved one's visit really, really hard.
And Eric's like, if we trust us 7, then we need to do a split. We need to get these lasso players out of here.
Yeah.
And we're going to start with Kelley.
That definitely, it wasn't their best side, I guess. Because Ron tells us, hey, I'm using the family visit as a threat. And Eric said the only reason not to split the vote is if you don't trust each other, which I don't know why you want to shine the light on whether or not they trust each other right now. Just that wasn't the wisest choice for sure.
Yeah. This is where the individuals start looking at things as a whole, going, Aurora's got to stop and look at that. And obviously some of the other players started to look at that. Though I am flabbergasted that War Dog got in people's heads. I just discounted when they flashed back to Julia and flashed back to Gavin. I thought, oh, nobody's going to pay him any attention, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, he gets their attention.
Well, it certainly resonated with Julia. And so Julia launches a plan, and War Dog did good. So he picked up their marketing mantra about making it to the family visit and really helped Julia see how Ron and Eric were putting themselves in a position to leverage Rick and David when it came time.
Their head.
He proposed something that seemed plausible, and it just started working on Julia.
Mm-hmm. And then Gavin.
And so she was convinced that he might have a point, even though sometimes it's challenging to listen to him war dog at you.
And not only that, they're going to work with Devins and David. And they're going to use them to vote you guys out. And it's going to turn this game
That's the part
around.
of the game where Dan's really excelled, right? Dan the War Dog strategically has made some good moves. He may be crap in a challenge, but strategically he's
got
been
a
able
devious mind
to put together plans that get executed.
Yep.
And so Julia picks this up and runs with it. She said, well, let me go test Eric. I'll propose getting rid of David now and see how Eric reacts. And then I'll know if War Dog's on to something or not. So she does that. And Eric's response, after pausing for a beat, was, well, let's make it to 8. And then we'll take him out. And that's all she needed to hear. She's like, doggone it, War Dog's right. So she circles back with Gavin, and they start putting a plan together. She says that Gavin and Victoria and her need to come up with someone. And so she says, let's take Eric out. And Gavin says, my new buddy, Gavin says, why not Ron?
And we were like, yes!
Because we both had Ron to go.
That's right, and we didn't even talk about
it beforehand. We thought that over-the-top arrogance. Hey, this is the guy that gets the title of the episode named after him.
That would be fun.
Puppet Master. Yeah, so finally, Ron is in play.
But then they go and talk to Victoria. Dadgummit. She's like,
too soon.
It's too soon for those kinds of shenanigans. It's like, you're going to listen to her?
One more vote, she says. Let's get through one more, and then we can look at that.
What has she got to get to nix things in the bud?
Julia's just spot on with her next little confessional before they go to tribal council. She says there's always risk, and it really comes down to how you're going to evaluate it. I think that's the essence of the game at these stages, is doing this risk management. And when you look at the consequences, the threat, what's the probability this is going to happen, and where are we vulnerable? How could this play out? In assessing that, and So I like how she looks at the game, and I like how she was doing risk management at this point.
But here's what I'd like to know. I would like to see some extra clips or something that tells us exactly what went down.
How did that come together?
Yeah, how did it come together afterwards, where they pulled everybody together, 8 people together from both sides of the fence.
So going into tribal council, essentially what you're saying is we're not clear.
No, I had no clue.
We never saw Lesu really zero in on anyone, and that's because they weren't the core of the plan.
Yeah, or any of them talked to Aurora about
right. Was she going to play the extra vote?
Okay.
And then we skipped over that part, but Wentworth and Lauren are ready to play their idols, they said.
Yeah.
So as they were bouncing around and showing all the different discussions that were going on pre-tribal.
But they don't want to. And I thought, oh, come on, you should both play your idols.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Tribal Council, night 22, time for the jury to come in. Joe sporting some stank face. Instead of Joey Amazing, it's Joey Stankface. He's expressing his displeasure.
And Jeff wants to talk to Eric about the dominance of comma.
Yeah, Eric said, the comma 7. We're decisive in choosing how to focus on things and how to manage the Lesu packages.
And we were all together on our beachside chat today. They didn't include you, Rick. Hello.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rick, he's out of the Lesu group, so he's, like he had said before, he's a free agent. And Kelley was reacting to him explain these things. She didn't like it. She tried to get him to be quiet. It's like, okay, Devins, okay, we hear you. You can stop saying that now. Rick tells us that he's all aboard the comma train. And then David's got a speech about pilot or passenger. He said right now that he's a passenger on this journey. He's not piloting. The pilots make it to the end, but that isn't him, he says right now.
So why wouldn't someone have pointed out that, oh, you're on the comma train, but did you notice you weren't invited to the beachside chat?
You're talking about for Rick?
Yeah. Why didn't someone respond to him that way?
I don't think it matters.
On Lesu.
Maybe they did, and they just didn't show it because it wasn't pertinent. Yeah. Eric advises everyone to consider their position, and Ron suggests that they stay strong.
Yep, no paranoia. Just got to get to the loved ones visit.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Eric circles back to the loved ones visit. Yeah.
And David agrees with War Dog.
Well, War Dog jumped on it and he said, well, are you here for the loved ones visit or are you here to win? That's what David was agreeing with.
Yeah. Then David explains how, you can make it to the family visit, but still not get to the end of the game. Let's don't completely lose sight of the goals. And
Julia tells them it's definitely on her mind and on their minds, but the question is when to make moves.
And Ron just was certain that nobody would go to Lesu. And that, sure, Jeff pointed out that, but you got open spaces for people over that. Well, yeah, for a limited time only. I was like, okay, arrogance is coming through again. But that was perfect.
I like just before that where Victoria was responding to and saying, you have to think before you make your move. So think before you shoot and make sure that the shot's not in your own foot.
Yeah, and she'd also said that, everyone can take control of the game, but who's going to decide to do it? So you think she was just throwing that out there? Or I think they probably went in pretty certain of how people...
Given how the votes go down next, I would say yeah. So that's why it's always worth going back and watching a tribal council like this one twice.
Yeah.
Because there's some things, once you know the outcome... Now reframe what's being said by the people who are in the majority of deciding how things are about to go down.
And then we watch Eric's vote for Kelley, telling us that you're on the wrong side of the numbers tonight. That's all it is.
And I fully expected her to play an idol. So when she didn't,
we were like, are you?
I was shocked. Yeah.
We both reacted.
They held it again. But this is where the edit is hiding things, because like you said, there was obviously a plan, because after Kelley and Lauren get 2 votes apiece, here come 6 votes for Eric, which is enough, but there were actually
which is really
8.
8, yeah.
8 total votes for him. So
I still say it's
somehow they
gutsy.
coordinated 8 votes for Eric after it looked like the discussion fell apart with Victoria squashing Julia
Yeah.
and Gavin's plan to go after Ron.
Well, like I said, that's the footage I want to see.
Yeah.
Is how that all
Would be
came
interesting
down.
for sure.
And I still was surprised they didn't play the idol because you're still taking a huge risk by not playing it because you don't know.
So obviously
if they're
they were
pulling your
party to
leg.
something that made them very confident.
Yeah, but they were confident the week before too, and it didn't go their way.
Yeah, that's
So-
fair. But again, someone really sold them, just reeled them in.
I guess
and this
so.
time it delivered because Eric was an absolute blindside. And
Oh,
Eric
yeah.
honored it. He said, bravo.
You guys are good.
Ron's gloat was over. He was not looking too happy there. So what do you think? Is that the end of the comma 6?
Well,
Pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah.
How could it not be one of the 6?
Well, you could always slot someone else in there, like Aurora could technically still slide in, and
No,
that would be the
I
comma
don't
6.
think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But
No, I don't think she trusts them.
yeah,
either.
the end. So basically, Julia and Gavin and Victoria, once they headed the train in that direction, that it was over.
Well, here's the thing. Here Rick is going. Rick and Julie voted Lauren,
Yeah,
and Ron and Eric voted Kelley.
right.
Easy vote, right? They all went in. Rick, I'm voting with the comma people, and then it was like slap.
Odd man out.
Oh,
Rick has found himself alone.
it's like okay.
No matter what.
Now where are you gonna go?
What direction he goes, he is out of the loop since he's been voted out. So
Both sides have punched you in the gut now, and so what you gonna do?
yeah, definitely. So what did you think overall of the episode? We lost our USB because we
I
both
didn't
stayed
care
with Eric.
actually.
Well, I don't think we were overly disappointed. I'm not going to say I didn't care. I would
Well,
certainly have
no,
loved to have 24
Yeah, well, you're in the
points.
side challenge.
And, well, no, it's not even got anything to do with it. I always try
Okay.
to do my best in the context of the game. He's not completely gone, but
No, he could come back.
there's some pretty steep competition with Chris and Joe there, and with whatever that fire is that's under Aubry. I'm not considering Reem really a
Oh,
threat. She's more concerned about her nap.
That would be a fluke.
If it was about napping and who could get to their nap first or get the longest nap, Reem might have a chance, but I don't think that she's going to make it back with that kind of
But
competition.
you never know.
Yeah, and so I really enjoyed the episode, even though the edit obviously hid major events from
Yeah.
us, and ensured that it was a surprise, even though that took some considerable coordination. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and I like seeing people game like that. And if you have Victoria as your USB, be very happy. If for some reason you chose Julia or even Gavin, you got some people who are still in the running, and I think Julia was the pivot of that. So she kind of sparked up, in my opinion,
Yeah, I don't really know.
this
but
episode.
Well, it wasn't that I loved getting rid of my USB 24.
And he's not
but-
completely gone.
No,
thanks
he
to the
isn't. He
twist,
could
so
still come back. He
he
could
could be-
still win.
could be the one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So,
we've seen him start fire. So
but I guess the fan in me just simply took over because the Blindside was just so
Loved the game.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And I loved the game. Even if it had been me, I'm afraid in the game, I would be disappointed, but I'm afraid that would come later. I think, oh man, that was a move. What a way to go.
didn't see it. Didn't have my
Didn't see it, didn't
have a
know it.
good enough network to
Wow.
to realize that was going on. Enough
Yeah,
connections. No one was looking out for him. Yep.
The anger will come later.
All right, next time on Survivor, Rick and David are trying to figure out how do they fix this thing. Got to decide on the custody of the hidden immunity idol, as David says. That was good. I like that.
I like David for not giving it, just handed it over.
Yes, I think that's
like, oh,
that's
sorry.
the best evidence I've seen so far. It's a
You
different
can't
David.
use it without me, and I can't use it without you. So unless we work together, it's not any good.
Looks like Ron, Julia, Kelley, and David are all potential targets. Although we can't trust any of this. We know the editors are out to fool us, but they're all listed as targets.
Everybody was just throwing names out.
You get to see a big jury reaction shot to Tribal Council and Probe saying, wow, I've never seen anything like it. But it's got to be one of those whisper events, whisper palooza going off as people are scrambling and trying to make some dynamic changes in the midst of a Tribal Council.
Julia tells us they're trying to bamboozle us. I don't know who us is or who they are, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff kept saying, sins of your past can come back to haunt you. Yeah, that was my thought. And Eric says they got me pretty good. Somebody mounted something. He didn't know what happened either. I guess what surprised me was that Gavin was on board. I really thought he and Eric were tighter than that. But it was pretty clear that he's tighter with Julia and Victoria.
And that might be by necessity, but the way Julia framed it, it was the younger ones. And so there was a difference between, them and that.
Ones. That's right. They are the younger ones.
Yeah. And he might have picked up on Eric and Ron working together. And, when they kept harping on hey, let's stick together for the loved ones, keep it common strong to get to the loved ones. He might have sensed that, well, if he and Ron are working that closely, that means I'm not there. So
here's the perfect. We know he's worked with Eric and that he talks to Ron. But here's the perfect thing. Those two guys are out there in right front and center, everybody's eye. Gavin's hanging back and letting them do it. I think he's using them as a shield within comma, Eric and Ron.
Well, certainly we saw earlier on in the season where Eric and Gavin are both saying that they are going to use each other.
Use Joe for that.
Well, and obviously each other.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it worked. But
he's using
seems like it's
Ron
time.
And Eric.
Okay, so you do that and you make that move. Where does that leave you, though? Where does that leave Gavin and Julia and Victoria and this bigger group? Because they cut themselves down to a 3.
Well, yeah. What incentive does Julie and Ron have to work with them?
They don't necessarily need an incentive. They just become the next 2 people to go.
Yeah, but then there's Rick and Julie and...
Julie and Ron was who you had mentioned before. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking who I was in on the votes.
Mm-hmm.
But Eric's gone, so it's just the 3 of them.
Yep.
That were... But, okay. Yeah, I don't know where they're going to go from here. I love it. Because I don't know who's going to... because they're voting in blocks at times. But it doesn't mean I'm with you. It just means I'll vote with you with this block this week in order to get this person out. And then next week we'll see.
This is where we define an alliance as a block based on the fact that it's intended to be temporary.
Right. And not a true alliance.
Well, no one ever put a clock on an alliance.
Yeah, but still.
This is a marketing thing that some people propose to try to differentiate their season.
It's just that alliances you expect to be more than one vote, but blocks, not necessarily.
Not sure where that leaves them. Where do they see their strength?
I don't know either.
I think that's certainly a big question going into the listener feedback show. But before we get to that, how about a JSFL update?
Alrighty. I can do that. Oh, I did want to say about Reem when Eric was talking about, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. And Reem's like, dude, don't get excited. I thought, oh, Lordy, she's at it again already. JSFL, there are 73 of us who lost their USB, at least for now. 20 people gained a vote-off point. Congratulations.
Good job.
117 people lost a safe point. And
I got double whammied, I didn't, triple whammied, I guess. I didn't get the vote out. I had Eric as safe because I hadn't taken him safe at all, and it was time to start.
I was saving him to be safe
and he was
later.
my USB. So it was like 1, 2, 3.
2 people are tied in first with 33 points. On the side challengers, with 31 points, Stacy is still in the lead. With 30 points, Jake Hendred. 29, we have Brandon, Cold Mike, Jack, Jeremiah, and Randy. 28 points, James and Shannon and Jonathan with 27 points. Drew, Iron Dave, Parker, and Slappy.
Okay.
And with 26, Brad.
All righty.
He's still nipping at the heels.
There you go. He's 1 point away from that, so that could change in the
That's
course
right.
of a week. Brad could make a transition.
Okay, and it's
So how did the USBs balance out now that
Okay.
people had an opportunity to make a change?
well, Eric had 76 people before, and he went down to 73. Kelley had 41, went to 38. Aubry had 40 and went 21. Julia went from 27 to 20. Joe went from 25 to 20. Chris went from 25 to 13. Rick went from 23 to 34.
Okay, there's an increase because
Yeah.
you're just calling decreases.
Yeah,
Before.
pretty much. Aurora went from 19 to 15. Gavin went from 18 to 21. David went from 18 to 21. Victoria went from 18 to 35.
Wow, she almost doubled.
War Dog went from 15 to 13.
Yeah.
Ron went from 13 to 13. They just stayed with him. Julie went from 12 to 19. And, of course, Keith and Wendy are out of the game. Lauren stayed with 3. And Reem went from 1 to no one.
That's a good one, I think.
Reem's person abandoned her.
Yeah. Not surprised there. Not at all.
Nope.
Anything else you want to say about the episode?
Do we usually have that? The top of the list person went out just like right after we had to decide.
Certainly, I think it's happened before. But
Well, sure. But anyway, this time it doesn't mean he can't come back.
yeah, there's that, I guess. So we can hold on to that hope.
Yep.
But that's classic. That's the classic gut punch is to either hold on or switch to someone after the merge and then have them promptly go out of the game. Well, we're looking forward to hearing what you thought about this episode. Did it catch you off guard like it did for us? Did you enjoy it? And what do you think about the chances for the folks on Edge of Extinction? And like I was hinting at before, what does this mean for Victoria and Gavin and Julia? How are they going to find their way forward? I think that's probably why the tribal chaos looks like it devolved into chaos. And that's what Probst and the jury are reacting to. But who do you see taking control going forward? It certainly gave those Lesu folks another shot in the game because this just busted it wide open. The comma 6 dominance is not to be. They could not hold tight. So looking forward to hearing what you thought about it. Who do you think's playing best? Who do you think's next to go? And did your USB stay in the game? And if you switched, who did you switch to? Love to hear that and all your other thoughts about this episode and this season. The voicemail line, 206-350-1547. Toll free, 844-643-8737. Email joanneandstacyshow@gmail.com. 3 minutes, whether you write it or record it, get it in by noon Pacific time Saturday, and then we'll get it out later Saturday afternoon. Looking forward to hearing what you thought about the episode from week 7.
All right. Good night, everybody.